Who am I? I have 3 different names and 4 surnames. As for the date of my birth, there are several different dates, and I still don't know the exact date of my birth. But I was probably born in the summer, because otherwise I wouldn't have survived. A village somewhere in Belarus. In that period, there's mother and 5 children in the woods. The village was burnt down, and my father joined the partisans. The Germans, according to my mother, were trying to force her to contact my father, but because she refused, they made her dig out a grave for herself and the children. But this didn't happen. She had to stay with her children in a dugout hole in the woods. Later, she told us how she would dry out diapers on her own body. She was caught probably in winter and was put in the Vitebsk camp. She stayed there for around 3 months, according to my sister, who wrote down the mother's memoirs. From there, we were taken to a transit camp. I have no information on how long we stayed there. In June 1943, we were taken to Majdanek, according to the information provided by the Auschwitz archive. In September or October 1943, the older children, that's my sister Valentina and brother Kola, were sent to Łódź. Mother stayed with Raya, Volodya and Gala, that is me, until 1944. We stayed there until 1944, and my mother worked on a farm. As the Eastern Front was approaching, on the 15th of April 1944, we were transported to Auschwitz. My brother, Volodya, was placed in Monowitz, that is Auschwitz III. My mother, sister and I had numbers tattooed on our forearms. My mother got the number 77251, my sister 77253, and my number was 77252. When later they started looking for me and my sister, they would give wrong numbers. I didn't find any information about my sister's stay in the camp, how long she stayed there, what she looked like and what happened to her in the camp. Perhaps we were not together. The only thing I know is that she was alive on the 19th of January 1945. This was the last time that our mother came to see us. It was Sunday. She could see us only once a week and only for half an hour. My mother was sent to Ravensbrück and from there straight to Russia, that is Belarus. Speaking from today's perspective, it was impossible for her to start looking for us back then. Her poor health, no housing, the harsh experience of the labor camp and the hardships she experienced after she returned to her homeland, as well as the news of her husband's death. He died on the 4th of April 1944. All that didn't allow her to start looking for us. Only months later, the children came back from the orphanages, and it wasn't until 16 years later that she could start looking for us. My older brother served in the army in Vladivostok. My younger brother was also a soldier. They had contacts with the foreign press, including the Polish press, hence the first letters, the first correspondence. The response from the press was also good. Now, when it comes to me, we were taken from the camp to Harbutowice. For many years, I didn't even know about it. I found this out from the older children during the first meeting of the Auschwitz children. Our first reunion was organized by the curator, Tadeusz Szymański, who started looking for the documents about the children who were in Auschwitz. Thanks to him, we could learn about our past and contact the members of our families if they were still alive. From Harbutowice, we were transported in horse-drawn carts to Bucha. We arrived in the evening. This was my very first memory. We entered a large, well-lit room, a dining room, and it was warm in there. The space was filled with children, they gave us food. I got milk in a mug, but I wanted to have it in a bowl, and I remember their astonishment and surprise, but they gave me a plate. I have very fond memories of Bucha, children in white rooms, bird feeding in wintertime, drinking fish oil in the mornings. I tried to be first in the line as they served us fish oil from one spoon. And my favorite food were eggs, and once I misbehaved and pushed in the line to make sure I would get my bread and scrambled eggs, so they put me in the corner as a punishment. I remember the people who took the photos of the numbers tattooed on our forearms. I also have a recollection of our baptism in a church organized by the nuns. On that day, I was given a name and a surname, Halina Zalewska, but I still didn't have my birth date. Around 1947, I was taken by Ms. Marczewska. Unfortunately, as a mother and a widow, her living conditions weren't too good, so she turned to her friend, but he couldn't take me in either. He asked his friend. His situation was a bit better. They were a married couple with no children, and they owned a shop. In the autumn of 1947, I was accepted into the family. They were very helpful, especially my foster father. He was very understanding and helped me greatly in organizing my new life. Unfortunately, he had a heart attack and a stroke in 1954. He had aphasia and had to learn how to speak and write anew. I was of great help for him at home, as we had the best contact. In 1956, I was formally adopted, and my name was changed to Maria Hörl, born in Oświęcim, which wasn't true. The father's condition improved, and there was more contact with him, but unfortunately he had another heart attack in 1959 and he died. For me, it was a great shock. I tried to help my mother as much as I could in the household chores and in the shop. And suddenly, a year later, the situation changed. I was at home alone and the radio was on. The program was called Music and the News, and suddenly I heard Mother is looking for her daughters with the numbers, and one of these numbers was mine. What a shock it was. My Polish mother returned from the shop, but I didn't tell her a thing about what I'd heard, and the next day she wanted me to go with her to the shop. But on the way there, I told her I had forgotten something, and I ran back home to listen to the radio again, as they would rebroadcast the program on that hour. Unfortunately, I was too late. On that same day, my grandmother visited us, and 2 days later, she was going back home, and I walked her to the railway station. I told her about everything, and I asked her to keep this to herself, but unfortunately she got off the train and she came to our home with my mother. And that's how it all began. It's not easy to have two mothers. A friend of mine passed information to the radio that I was in Krakow. Ever since I can remember, I longed for the people and familiar faces around me, but I couldn't find them. In Bucha, although I was surrounded by many carers, I missed the face and the very notion of mother. I knew that my parents had died, but I didn't think too much about it. I didn't ask myself who I was, who they were, and so on. After all, I had a family, and of course I was told many times that I should be grateful for what I had. No one was really interested in my feelings. The father was on my side, and he gave me strength and also instilled in me this belief that I myself was strong and that there was future for me. Where there's will, there's a way, as they say. But I've always been a very reserved and quiet child. This hasn't changed. Mr. Szymański from Auschwitz, Mr. Zybet from the radio, and Dr. Putawska contacted my mother in Krakow, but I didn't know about this. She didn't tell me about this, and I didn't have access to the post either. So that family of mine was surprised why I wouldn't contact them back. My brother Volodya arrived and we met in Krakow, and finally my Krakow mother decided to take me to Vitebsk. And I had to be grateful again. One thing was positive about all this. My family in Vitebsk received a flat with facilities because I was going back to my home country, Belarus. The surge of interest was good for them. I didn't expect such a welcome. I was amazed when I saw all these people at the railway station. How will I find my family in such a crowd? I thought. I didn't expect that they would all come to welcome us. All eyes were set on me. How will she react? Two mothers. At least I could speak the two different languages. Their gaze told me everything. But unfortunately, I didn't stay there. I came back to Poland. After I finished my studies and an internship, I received an invitation to Vienna through the Maximilian Kolbe work. I also received a very warm welcome from Pax Christi. I was absolutely delighted, and I decided to stay there as long as my passport allowed me to. I worked for Caritas. I learned the language and traveled around the country. My last plan was to go to Italy. I met Józef, my husband, and one day before my passport expired, we got married. They took away my Polish citizenship, but I received an Austrian passport. I could visit Poland without any problems, which was particularly important in the 1970s. At the end of the 1960s, my Belarus mother died. In 2005, my older brother died, and then my sister died as well. But I met them very often in the meantime, and I went with my family to Belarus. Only my brother is still alive, but because of his poor health, he couldn't come here this year. 2 years ago, he was here with a group of former inmates from Belarus. I'd like to thank you for your kind attention, and I would also like to thank all the people from Auschwitz-Birkenau who help us, that they have organized these events for many years. These meetings are extremely important for us. We meet here as one family, we, the Auschwitz children. And we feel really welcomed in here. And I'd like to thank as well Maximilian Kolbe work, because for many years they have helped the former inmates really greatly, and we should recognize their great help. Thank you very much for your kind attention.